Hello, welcome to Locked on Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite team in the Bay Area. And on today's episode, we are going to get you ready for the rookie tournament that starts today. So we're going to look at the roster, we're going to get to know some of the new tryout guys, and then look at what I'm looking forward to and what I'm keeping an eye on as the rookie tournament gets started. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked on Sharks.
You're Locked on Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at Fear the Fin and San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you, of course, for making us your first listen. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, you can subscribe on YouTube. And we're going to be back to 5 days a week, starting on Monday, even though you've gotten some extra bonus episodes this week. But today we do want to get ready for the rookie tournament. I talked to Nick Nolenberger, and we talked about how with the rookie tournament, it doesn't mean a lot, but a good rookie tournament can lead to a good camp, lead to good things for your season. So before we get into it, though, I want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has got you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So first thing we got to do is we got to look at the roster for the rookie tournament and look at the players who are here and not going to be here. And I think kind of the big thing the big takeaway is there's not too much of the 2022 draft class here representation wise. Just a couple of those guys, so most of these guys with the 2022 draft, they're in college. So they're starting their college, camps right now, already enrolled in classes, doing all that fun stuff. And then Bystedt and Havlet are both in Sweden. And I don't think for the Sharks, they thought it was a good idea to, especially since neither one of these guys is going to make the team this year. Not worth it to drag them all the way across the world to be here for a week and then send them back. And they'd rather just let them go and marinate and do their thing over in Sweden this year. So we'll go through the entire roster. We'll start with the forwards, and then whenever we get to any of the new guys, we'll kind of take a little break and talk about some of these tryout guys and where they came from type of situation. So you see this a lot where, a lot of guys will come in and try out. Nick Chichak, famously a tryout for the Sharks, was signed to a Barracuda contract and then was rewarded with his good play with an actual NHL contract in. I think he will make his debut on the NHL team at some point this year. So we'll start with the forwards. Of course, Thomas Bordello, who played with the Sharks last year. These are all in alphabetical order by last name, so no particular rhyme or reason. Just Thomas Bordello played with the Sharks last year. And then one Braeden Bowman. So one of the tryout guys, he's 19, just turned 19 this summer. 6'2", 194-pound right winger, plays for the Gulf Storm. Had a pretty solid season for the Gulf Storm last year. Played 60 games, 27 goals, 10 assists, 37 points, 18 penalty minutes, and then had 2 assists in the playoffs as well. Is expected to go back to the Storm this year, but just another one of those guys where you can, you sign them and kind of add them to your prospect pool here. So type of situation. So, I think with him, you're going to see a lot of these guys where you're just kind of taking darts on some of these guys to see if they've got anything type of situation. So, yeah. Next guy, of course, Ethan Cardwell, playing his overager season with Barrie. It'll be interesting to see if he has a really good rookie tournament, if they sign him to his NHL contract and let him come to camp and see if he can maybe potentially make the team. But I have a feeling we see this with the Sharks a lot where they like to send them back for their overager seasons. and let them really kind of, stew and marinate type of thing. So yeah, Cardwell, and when he goes back to Barry, if he goes back to Barry, he should have a monster season for them. He's already been lighting the lamp a couple times in the preseason for them. Brandon Coe, of course, has already played one season with the Barracuda due to the OHL shutdown. I think he's gonna hit the ground running for the Barracuda this season, and this could be the start of it for him. Some guy named William Eklund. We just talked about William Eklund on Wednesday's show, so if you guys go check out that, if you want to know kind of more about what's expected for William Eklund in his rookie season and if he can make an actual Calder run. Liam Gilmartin, who plays with the London Knights this year, was part of the 2021 draft class, so he was a 6th-round pick with them. I think him, and we'll get to another one of the London Knight guys here in a minute. Both should be kind of set up to have much bigger roles with the London Knights, and that kind of their top line is gone. So Daniel Gushing, who we all know that the Russian sniper, played in the Barracuda, got a couple games with the Barracuda last year, and I think he's going to have himself a really solid Barracuda season this year. Dylan Hamleck, who kind of gets a little forgotten with Sharks fans, was the 2nd-round pick in the 2019 draft, and it really hasn't established himself the way you would like. And last year with 44 games in the CUDA had 3 goals and 9 points total. So I think this is kind of might be the last straw for Hamleck this season. So for him, I think having a good rookie tournament and then really kind of turning that and, getting the momentum and getting his career really kind of going here with this big season for him. Josh Lawrence, another one of the 2022 tryout guys. He played in the QM JHL last year and really lit it up. 68 games, 31 points, 70 assists, 31 goals, 70 assists, 101 points. With the Q, you do have to remember defense very optional in the Q, especially among the 3 CHL leagues. You're going to see more points in that league, but he is a 20-year-old, 5'9", center/right winger, 179 pounds, right-handed shot. Again, I don't mind taking flyers on these guys where he lit it up in the queue. See if he can kind of bring that over with him. He's reading his elite prospects draft guide, definitely has very high defensive awareness, so can thread passes and can easily score. So again, a nice shot on a guy like this. You bring him in, maybe he can help the CUDA. You get him into the system and see how he does. If not, maybe he plays with. He's expected to go back to the Q this year, but maybe you bring him in. He goes play in Wichita Thunder and kind of starts to get his pro career going here. Before we continue looking at the rest of the roster, let's take a quick break. I want to talk to you guys, of course, about our friends over at BetOnline. You guys know BetOnline is your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports information this season. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts as football continues to get going. BetOnline has got you covered for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, which is always super fun. Esports and scores. They're the fastest and easiest way to check in all your favorite sports events, including Major League Baseball, especially we got playoffs here right around the corner, MMA, boxing, and golf. So head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right, so we talked about Josh Lawrence. Let's continue to run through these forwards. Another one of the tryouts, Mark Liwiski. So he plays in the WHL on the Kelowna Rockets last season. So he's 21 years old, just turned 21 years old. So he's too old to go back to the WHL. So another one of these guys where you're kind of seeing if he can potentially fit in your system. Maybe you send him to the CUDA. Maybe if you do sign him, you send him to the Wichita Thunder. 6'1", 194 center/left winger, left-handed shot. Pretty solid season with the Rockets last year. 63 games, 24 goals, 22 assists, and 46 points. Had another goal in their playoffs as well. Before that, I know it's a little tough with these WHL where they didn't have full seasons and stuff. So didn't have the highest, in the 16 game kind of bubble season, that 2020, 2021 season, he had nine goals, 5 assists, and 14 points in 16 games. So not too bad, but very small sample size. And then year before that, 55 games, he had 19 points with 8 goals out of those 19 points before the shutdown. So, again, just more darts were, especially for a team like the Sharks, where you just kind of throw these darts, see if any of these guys hits. Maybe you find yourself a Chichak, maybe, a type of situation. So, and then Max Mchugh, another London Knight guy. Last year in the 64 games, he had 9 goals, 26 points, 35 assists. Again, I expect Mchugh and Gilmartin to kind of take that next step this year, especially with, because London always produces top quality talent. Now that these guys are going to have a much better opportunity to play kind of top 6 minutes on this team. Hopefully they can start to produce a little bit more. Adam Raska played kind of, last year on the Barracuda, a couple games on the Sharks. I think we kind of know what Raska is. He's going to be a energy third line type of guy. Not afraid to kind of mix it up as well, a type of situation. So Scott Reedy, very handsome. Started the season in the Cuda last year, made the jump to the NHL, looked like he fit. So he's a guy who's going to be fighting for a roster spot for the Sharks. So again, one of those, if you have a great rookie tournament, can really kind of get you going as you head into training camp, which starts on the 22nd. Tristan Robbins, we all know, Sharks second round pick in the 2020 draft class. Really great OHL or WHL season last year with the Saskatoon Blades. 33 goals, 45 assists, 78 points. Did have a shoulder injury to end his season, but I think once he gets his feet under him in the AHL, we're going to see why Tristan Robbins is such a highly touted prospect. Mitchell Russell, who I had on earlier this summer, was the Sharks signed him out of the OHL from North Bay, former teammate of Brandon Coe. Dominant season in the OHL, 64 games played, 41 goals, 47 assists, 88 points. Again, one of these shots where I think he's going to, come in, and I think playing with Brandon Coe, we've seen that chemistry between the two of them. So, and then Ozzy Weisblatt, looks like he might have a new number this year, number 89. For first round pick of the Sharks in the 2020 draft class. Definitely had a down season last year in the WHL on the Prince Albert. Prince Albert was a really bad team. He ended up with 10 goals, 31 assists, 41 points in 43 games. So not too bad production, but kind of not what you wanted to see. But I think we're going to kind of a lot of that was based on the team he had, and then also dealing with an injury to end his season. So let's go on to the back end of the roster here and look at the defense. Nick Chichak was a 2021 tryout that the Sharks liked, signed his AHL deal, played really well at the Barracuda, got rewarded with an NHL contract. So like I said, I expect him to play on the Sharks at some point this year. First of the 2022 draft class, Jake Furlong, who's going to be playing in the queue for Halifax this year. He's going to be hanging around camp for a little bit. And you're going to see it with these CHL guys where it's a lot of them, going to hang around for camp for a little bit, and then they'll kind of start to ship them off and ship them back and stuff. So, Jake Furlong, kind of want to see what he does, or in playing in a 5-on-5 system and kind of what type of opportunity he gets. So, especially because, he's a pretty good sized kid, and I see how his game kind of fits compared to what he's doing in the queue. So, Artem Gareth, the 2021 5th round pick, big boy, 6'4", 220. So he plays for the Peterborough Petes in the OHL. Not going to get you much on the score sheet. He had 12 points in 37 games last year. I know he dealt with a wrist injury as well. So again, I think we'll get into want to see what his game is like. Santeri Hadaka played last year mostly for the Barracuda, did play a couple games with the Sharks as well. 2019 6th-round pick. I think this is a big year for him to really kind of work on his game in the Barracuda. And then our Timmy Kanyezev, same thing, played mostly in the Barracuda, did get a game with the Sharks last year. The 2019 2nd-round pick. I think for both these guys, you can kind of lump them together where you want to see them really kind of take their game to the next level. And, playing in this rookie tournament where, they have some pro experience to really help them. Samuel Meyer, another one of the tryout guys, also plays on the Peterborough Petes. He's 19, 6'3", left-handed defenseman, weighing 201 pounds. Last year was his first season in the OHL, playing for the Peterborough Petes. 68 games, 11 goals, 26 assists, 37 total points. With him, he's played in the CCHL, so not kind of your typical path. But again, just another one of these take a shot on that type of guy. You're watching, it might be one of those things where you're watching Gurov and then you're like, oh, this guy's kind of flashing here as well. So, and then let's keep going here. 2-1 Ryan Merkley, who I think this is a monster year for Ryan Merkley, and I feel like he's been in the rookie tournament for 10 years now, but, split his season last year between the Sharks and the CUDA. I think, this is a big year for Ryan Merkley to try to really establish himself as an NHL caliber player. There's plenty, we've talked about all summer, there's plenty of opportunity behind Erik Karlsson in that right-handed side to try to kind of make a stake for especially after Brent Burns' departure. So want to see if Ryan Merkley can be much more defensively responsible and, see him provide the offense that we expect. Montana Yabuchi, again, was last year played mostly in the Barracuda, did have a couple of ECHL games, was a 2021 tryout, impressed in the camp and got a Barracuda contract. They brought him back again this year. So we'll kind of see how he continues to develop. Didn't light up the stat sheet, but he's going to play good, physical, tough defense if you're into that. And then Michael Smith, another tryout here. He was where did he play? Mitchell Smith, not Michael Smith. Mitchell Smith, sorry. He plays for the Saginaw Spirit in the OHL. He will be turning 21 today. He just turned 20 on the 15th, so happy birthday to him. 5'11", 184-pound defenseman, left-handed shot. Pretty solid team, last year with the Saginaw Spirit. He was an alternate captain, 68 games, 16 goals, 34 assists, 50 points. And then expected to go back to the Spirit as well this year. So again, just taking a shot, see how these guys look, and then you can kind of go from there. And then the goalies, Sharks bringing 5 goalies, which is kind of a lot compared to some of the other teams. I think most of the other teams are only bringing 2 or 3. Sharks bringing 5 goalies, so we're going to get a chance to see some of these guys. Of course, Mason Beaupitt, the 2022 draft pick. You have Zachary E. Mond, who's fighting for a Barracuda job, but most likely he's going to be going to Wichita in the ECHL. Benjamin Gaudreau, 2021 draft pick, who had a pretty good season last year for the Sarnia Sting, but we like to see a little bit more consistency out of him. I thought he looked pretty good also in the development camp, at least in the 3-on-3. We'll see our first bit of Eetu Makanemi, who the Sharks acquired in the Brent Burns trade, played last year with the Chicago Wolves in the AHL, and had a really solid season going until he got hurt. He only played 14 games, but again, looked really good in that time before he got hurt. And then Strauss-Mann, who I'm expecting to be the Barracuda's number 1 goalie. The Sharks signed this spring. Was a Michigan product, went and played in Sweden for a season, and then I thought was easily the best goaltender in the development camp, especially in the 3-on-3 games. So that's going to do it for the actual roster. Before we get into what I'm looking forward to and what kind of my big takeaways going into this weekend are, do want to let you guys know about the Locked On NHL show. Thank you guys, of course, for making us your first listen. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts, as we cover your Sharks, your team every day. But also make sure you guys are checking out the Locked On NHL show. They cover the NHL at whole. You have Western Conference Wednesdays, Thursdays during the season. It's usually the Power Rankings day where they're going to be looking at, the NHL Power Rankings, which teams are movers and shifters, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure you guys, when you're done listening to this episode, go check out the Locked On NHL episode, free and available wherever you get podcasts, and of course, subscribe to them on YouTube as well. All right, so we went through the entire roster. There's definitely some big hitters on the Sharks roster, and first thing I'm going to be curious is how do they kind of deploy the lines, and we'll probably get, by the time you guys are listening to this, or first thing Friday morning at the Sharks skate, we'll get some actual lines, and I really want to see guys like Eklund and Bordello. If those, I assume that's going to be your top line, and whoever they pair with him. If it's a Brandon Coe or an Ozzy or Tristan Robbins, who's going to get that first jump with what you expect is probably going to be the top line of Eklund and Bordello. And same thing like on the defense. We assume it's going to be Ryan Merkley, and who's going to be that partner with him? Is it going to be Hadaka? Is it going to be Kanyezev? Is it going to be Nick Chichak, et cetera, et cetera? Who's going to be the kind of, how are these guys going to be lining up? And, which you can't play all these guys, but, kind of which guys are going to get the first crack on that tonight's Friday night game. So that's kind of the big thing I want to see is, who gets the first shot and who's there. Cause those are usually the guys you want to see at first. Right. And then as the weekend progresses, who's earning more ice time and who's maybe, moving up and down the lineup. That kind of is a good indicator of who the coaching staff thinks is having themselves a nice tournament. So, which guys are getting first power play opportunities, which guys are getting first penalty kill opportunities. What are, who's going to be the starting goaltender? I assume it's probably they're going to split it up, right? You're going to let a lot of these guys play, but I think it's going to be Strauss. I want to see if it's Strauss-Mann is getting that first crack at it, and then kind of how those guys slot in behind him. If it's Makanemi, and then if it's Gaudreau and Bopet or Emond, and who's getting actual ice time is kind of the big thing I'm going to take away from it. And as Sharks fans, another kind of cautionary thing is don't get too excited if somebody does something, but let's try to take away what information we can from how the coaches are utilizing this. And if a guy's having a strong game, a lot of these guys are rookies or they've played minimal amount of games. So it's very easy to get excited, but we want to, pump the brakes as well too, unless it's William Eklund, then you go crazy, kids. But, another thing is going into this weekend or coming out, who's the one guy that we're going to be talking about? Like last year, when I talked to Nick Nollenberger, we were talking about William Eklund and then Jasper Weatherby were kind of the two guys that really impressed us the most coming out of the rookie tournament. And who's going to be the guy that we're going to be talking about coming out of the rookie tournament this year and kind of helping their case as they head into training camp. So again, you're not making the team today if you have a solid rookie tournament, but which of these guys is going to kind of get that nice jump and kind of build that momentum as they try to make their case of either making the Barracuda or making the Sharks, or if one of these tryout guys, which one of these tryout guys is earning that AHL contract to try to make the Barracuda this year. So those are kind of the big things I'm looking forward to. I do also want to see, I think for players, of course, first thing is we want to see everyone go through the weekend without being hurt, but I want to see William Eklund playing this year and really being that dominant force, especially his second time going through this now. He's had a disappointing season last year. Skip World Juniors, that way he could focus on building up his body and stuff. And for Sharks fans, this is really, other than development camp, this is the first time we've gotten to really see him in almost a year. And I want to see how his game has progressed and how much stronger he looks. And so he's, of course, going to be the number one guy I'm watching this weekend. I want to see how Bordeleau looks. I want to see if Ryan Merkley is ready to make that jump. And then I want to see one of these, 2001, 2002, or 2021, 2022 draft class guys, and which one of these guys flashes, right? We spend a lot of time talking about the 2020 draft, and rightfully so. It's projecting to be a really good draft, but I want to see which one of these 2021 or and the few 2022 guys, which one of these guys flashes and proves that they're ready to kind of take their game to the next step. If it's a Liam Gilmartin or a Max Mchugh, or if it's one of the defensemen, like a Artem Gareth or a Jake Furlong, how do these guys look now that they've had a year under their belt, being in the system and playing a full season, kind of being in the as a Sharks prospect, and how do they look now when they're playing with the other Sharks prospects? So it's going to be fun. I can't wait. I can't believe hockey is actually here. So the Sharks, again, they play Friday night, Saturday night, and they play Monday afternoon. So I'll keep an eye on the YouTube. I'll probably go live at some point during the weekend, either at Friday night or Saturday night, to kind of talk about one of the games and kind of our big takeaways. Monday, we'll have a recap of what happened over the weekend, and then we'll get you guys ready for training camp next week. Shang is scheduled to come back on, so we'll kind of dive into the big storylines heading into training camp, and we're going to bring back the old stock up, down, stock watch for training camp, and which players are rising, which players are falling, et cetera, et cetera. So guys, we did it. We made it through the off season. Rookie tournaments here. We got preseason games in a week. We're going, we as the Sharks, we're going to Prague. Not me. I'm staying in my house because my wife would murder me if I left to go to Europe and left her with the children for that long. So, but yeah, hockey season's here, guys. We did it. Thank you guys for following along this off season as we went through one of the craziest off seasons in Sharks history. We've made it to the regular season. We made it to the actual season, started the season. We got regular season coming. I'm going to try to do more YouTube stuff, all that fun stuff. So make sure you guys are following along on social media so you know when this stuff's happening. Twitter, of course, is the big one, Facebook and Instagram, but all of them at Locked On Sharks. You can listen wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Odyssey, you name it. If you're listening to it now, continue to listen to it. So YouTube, again, we're going to try to do some more after the game live stuff, where it's a little bit less formal, just kind of chatting about the game. Giving my takeaways, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure you guys are subscribed on YouTube. Thank you guys. I think I just crossed the 1,300 subscriber mark. So thank you guys for listening. Really appreciate it. And then you can follow me on Twitter at myfryhole. Go check out the Locked On NHL show. And then again, should be on doing a YouTube live sometime this weekend. So guys, keep an eye out for that. And until then, bye, friends.